Guys, today we're going to answer the question, should I buy first or should I sell first? Stay tuned.
You better get fired up.
Happy Halloween, baby. Man, if I'd had more time, I would have dressed up for you guys. I'm going to be a polar bear tonight, which if you follow my Facebook is nothing new. I do it every single year, right? I got this great polar bear outfit. Polar bears are my favorite animal. So that's what we're doing every single year. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing, man. I hope you have a good night. I live in Tradition in Bedford Park, and we get about 3,000 kids every single year. So it's going to be bonkers, man. There's a gal in our community who throws a party out in her front yard, and she's got thousands of pieces of candy, probably costing hundreds of dollars. But it's just, it is a fun time, man. If you like Halloween, Bedford Park is the place to be. I don't know if I should be pitching that on here. But anyway, let's talk about this question. I've got a home to sell and I want to buy a home for whatever reason. Should I buy the home first and then worry about selling, or should I sell first and then worry about buying? So we're going to talk about the pros and cons of both. And in some situations, you might not have a lot of options, right? So really, when I get this question from a client, the first thing I'm going to do is ask a couple questions to kind of qualify their situation and see what are our options. The first thing I'm going to say or talk about is selling first. If you sell first, there's pros and cons associated. Number one, if you sell first and then you buy, one pro is that you come in with a strong offer, right? An offer that's contingent upon the sale of another property, assuming you got to sell that property first, is not an attractive offer. So if you're trying to negotiate price, you're trying to negotiate terms, you're trying to negotiate anything, your leverage to negotiate is going to be much weaker than if you come in with no sale contingency. Everybody out there wants the convenience of closing on their property at the same time we close on the new property that I want. And I also want a sweet deal. And that's just not the way it works in a lot of cases, right? In fact, if somebody is willing to give you a sweet deal, usually the reason is they're way overpriced. They don't have anybody else interested in their home. So by you coming in 20, 30 grand lower, whatever it is, you might actually be paying market value or over market value for that property, right? Or they've got a lot of issues. They've got a leaky roof, an old roof, an AC that doesn't work, termites, mold, whatever it is. They can attract a lot of other buyers, so they will accept your terms. Well, that's not a home a lot of people are attracted to. If you've got a home that's attractive, it's got all the right things, it's staged great, it's got new coat of paint on it, it's got beautiful flooring, it's got a newer roof, it's got a nice pool, whatever it is, all the things that check most buyers' boxes, you're going to attract a lot of buyers and you're going to sell for market value. Those homes are not going to negotiate with you in a lot of cases, right? So by selling first, you come in with a much stronger offer and the ability, or at least the greater ability, to negotiate. Will everybody negotiate? No, some people are going to tell you to get lost. Either give me my asking price or don't. But some will. So if you are not contingent on sale, the sale of your current property, your ability to negotiate goes up. All right. What's the con of selling first? I always tell people, listen, you need to know yourself. Are you picky or not? I've purchased multiple homes in my life. Every single time I want to purchase a home, I go out one day and I look at 4 to 8 homes that I'm interested in, right? I do my research to make sure I'm looking at all the best homes that fit what I'm looking for. I go look at them. I put an offer in, and before I go to bed, I am under contract. That's never not happened. Now, I get it. I'm a realtor, but I think anybody can do this if you've got a realtor. The realtor can worry about, the contracts and everything else. Really, you just need to be decisive. I think when people take forever to purchase a home, the reason is usually they don't have clarity in their mind of what they want. They should probably do a little bit more research. They should probably be asking more questions. They shouldn't be out looking at homes, right? I don't stop people. You do you, right? But in most cases, if they were to ask me, Joe, why do you think I'm having a problem finding a home? I would say, because you haven't either really taken the time to think about what it is you truly want, or you're not being realistic with your budget. One of the two things. So if you haven't done the research, the solution is research more. If you aren't being realistic with your budget, the solution, you got 2 of them, is either be realistic by dropping your expectations or increase your budget. Those are the 2 options. What do most people do? I shouldn't say most people. A lot of people will just come in on a home that's over budget and they'll try to negotiate to budget and they fail. They finally get frustrated enough to where they either increase their budget or they drop their expectations. And I see that often too, right? A lot of agents will, I don't want to say complain, but they'll say, this guy keeps looking at homes. We put in 3 offers. He's not getting any accepted because his offers are ridiculous. And I always say, you know what? That's their path. Have you educated them? If you've educated them and they still want to do that, let them do it, right? They're going to have one of two things happen. Either they're going to get randomly lucky and get one of their offers accepted, which that's a win, or they're not going to get lucky, which is probably what's going to happen. They're going to feel the pain of losing 1, 2, 3 houses that they loved, and eventually they're going to have to get realistic, right? I want you as a buyer and a seller, I guess at the same time here, to think through that process yourself. It was funny. We were just doing negotiation the other day, and the person selling the home was in this exact situation. And when we got the offer on the property, they wouldn't budge a dollar. This is my house. I poured money into it. It's beautiful. It's great condition, blah, 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 blah. I'm not negotiating at all. Okay, cool. So we get the buyer to come up. They got full price. Now, when they go to put an offer and they're coming in $45,000 low on a property that's $345, they're coming in at $300. This isn't a $700,000 property. So they're coming in $45,000 low, which my quick math tells me that's 15%. That's a lot. That's not normal. Very few people are accepting that. And the counter was at $325, which, my gosh, you just got 20 grand off. That's a great deal. And they were upset. This is not right. This is not fair. They need to realize it's this kind of market, blah, blah, blah. And I said, are you not realizing that you just said all the opposite things with your buyer? Ding, a little light bulb went off, right? So realize all of these things and think about how flexible are you? How picky are you on the home that you're going to purchase? If you're really picky and you sell your home first, you might have a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months go by where you don't have a home that you own. Are you going to do a 1 year lease? If you don't want to do a 1 year lease and you're like, well, I'll do a 1 month lease, a 2 month lease, a 3 month lease. Okay, those less than yearly leases are much more expensive. I'm making this up, but let's say you're looking at a $3,000 annual lease, right? $3,000 a month because you've agreed to a year. If you only want to do a month, that might be $3,500, $4,000, $4,500. It's significantly more because they're giving you time, right? You don't need to do 12 months. We're going to give you the term of time. You want to do less, we'll allow you to do that, but you're going to pay a greater amount of money for that. People get upset about that. They say it's not fair, but it is fair because you're taking away from that landlord the ability to know that they're getting money for 12 months. For taking that away, they're going to charge you more money. Even Steven, you got to pick what's important to you, right? What blows my mind, I'm going to get on my soapbox here, is so many people get emotional and offended by some of these things. And I think if you looked at their situation and took their perspective into consideration, I'm not saying you would agree with it. I'm not saying you would change your offer, your terms, anything like that, but you would at least, if not eliminate, get rid of a lot of the emotion that's involved. And I just said this yesterday with a client. Really, I know you're going to have emotion, but try to let that emotion subside a little bit, maybe overnight. Let's sleep on it before you make a logical decision. Because if you don't, you're not going to make a logical decision. You're going to make an emotional decision. Okay. So again, you've got to ask yourself, if I'm super picky, what is my solution going to be to not having that next house lined up? If you don't have a solution, you better either come up with one, or selling first might not be a great option for you. Now, most people are going to want to do it at the same time, which I'm going to call that buying first. All right. Well, if you're going to buy first, then you've got to be in one of two situations. Situation one is you've got the cash to own 2 properties, or you've got the financial ability, and we can talk about that in a little bit more depth soon, to own both properties at the same time. Or if you don't, you've got to make your offer contingent on the sale of your current property. Well, again, the con to that is now you're less attractive to that seller. They're saying, ugh, I got to hope you sell your home. I don't know if you're overpriced. I don't know if your agent's doing a great job. I don't know what your marketing looks like. I don't control any of that. And especially if you don't have a buyer, and especially if you don't have a buyer through inspection, the odds of that actually moving forward are, who knows, 30%, 50%, 70%. It's not 90% like most offers are, right? I mean, I'm making that up, but it's roughly 90, 95%. When I get an offer and we're under contract, we're closing maybe 90% of the time. If I get you through inspection, we're closing 98, 99% of the time. When I've got a contingency on the sale of your property, half or more of those fall apart. That's a huge risk. So now I might not accept your offer. Even if I do, I don't really feel the need or desire to negotiate with you. So your negotiation abilities go down. All right. However, it solves the problem of, where am I going to live? Am I going to be homeless? Nope. Because if property A closes, property B closes the same day or roughly the same day, you're good to go. Money isn't an issue. Time isn't an issue. Housing is an issue. Solves a lot of issues. It's just, you got to find a home that is actually going to say yes to an offer contingent. And you've got to realize that your leverage is going to be much less. If you're okay with those things, you're good to go. Now, because your leverage is less, that means you might not get your favorite house. You might get your third, fourth, fifth, sixth favorite house. Is that worth you having all of those things kind of align, right? The sun and the moon and the stars and everything else. For a lot of people, it is. For a lot of people, it's not. There are no right answers. It really comes down to your motivation, your comfort level, and how experienced and confident you are in the situation. For me, I want the ability to negotiate. Okay. So for me, I'm going to get my house under contract with a buyer through inspection. I know I'm not picky. I know I can do the research to ensure that if I go look at 6, 8, 10 houses, because I did the research and picked the 6, 8, 10 that are going to fit my needs the best, I'm going to be happy buying 1, 2, 3 of those houses. I guarantee it. And now I can put an offer in, and yes, it's contingent on the sale of my property, but I can show them I've got my property on the market and I've got a buyer under contract, and that buyer is through inspection, and we're going to be closing in 3.5 weeks. And my offer is for 3.5 weeks from now, closing on the same day. So now your only risk is any remaining contingencies, which on most offers is just going to be my buyer's financing contingency. Could it fall apart? It could, but you've got somewhere in the 90 percentile chance of closing. Much more confidence inducing with that other seller now, right? So those are all the things that you've got to think about. Now, let's talk about some financial options. If you don't have the ability to own 2 properties at the same time, maybe you can't afford the payment, maybe the bank's telling you you're not going to get approved or whatever it is, you've got a couple options. I'm going to give you 3. Number 1 is a HELOC. We're doing one of these right now where they're saying, hey, you've got a property, and even though it's not under contract yet, you could do a HELOC on it. You're going to have to pay some money on that. It is going to create monthly payments for you, but you can take that cash, apply it to the new house. That'll drop your mortgage significantly, and we can approve you for this smaller mortgage plus the current mortgage you got, plus the HELOC payments. But you've got to be approved for all that. Second way to do this, and again, you've got to be approved through this, is a bridge loan, right? It's a short-term loan built specifically for this issue, but they're a little costly. The last one that I looked at, it was like somewhere around $500,000-$600,000 was the house price. I don't remember how much the bridge loan was, and it was going to cost them $12,000 in closing costs to do it. They just didn't want to pay $12,000, which there's a reason you would want to do it. There's a reason you wouldn't want to do it, right? There's pros and cons to everything. You're essentially, and this is the way I explain it to the client, you're paying $12,000 to not have all these issues we're talking about. So you have to choose, either pay the money and have no issues, or save the money, which is great, but now you've got issues you got to deal with. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. You just got to choose. And if I can create that clarity for you on what that decision looks like, hopefully we can get rid of emotion and you can make a logical decision. So again, one option is a HELOC. Another option is a bridge loan. A third option is seller financing. That's the toughest one to find. It's usually the sweetest deal, But if you can find someone on the next home who will give you maybe 1, 2, 3 years of seller financing, and maybe you don't need the full 2, 3 years, right? You just need until you sell this property. So now you sell your property in 6 months, you can take the proceeds from that, pay this guy off in full, and you're good to go, right? And there's a million ways you can draw out terms. When you're not working with a big bank that has rules and they're not going to bend on anything, and you're working with Bob the homeowner, there's a lot of different things you can do, a lot of leniency, negotiation, moving of terms that you can do that you're not going to be able to do with Wells Fargo or Citibank. Okay. So you can make those terms work for you. Now, finding somebody who is in the financial position to be able to say yes to that, because that guy probably also needs his cash to be able to go do his next thing. So you got to find someone who does not need that cash to do that next thing. And they've got the desire to actually do it, which a lot of people who can do it don't want to do it. So you got to find someone who can do it and wants to do it. That's going to be challenging. And then if you add to it the fact that I got to find somebody who can do it, wants to do it, and it's got to be a home that I love. Well, holy smokes. If I have a typical client and I just take a snapshot in time right now with your budget, what homes would you buy? Let's say in Port St. Lucie, right? 250,000 people. That's a big old city. There's probably 2, 3, 4 homes that a typical buyer would buy. They're not interested in anything else. Maybe it's because of the price. It doesn't have a pool. It doesn't have enough bedrooms. It doesn't have the lot I want. Whatever the problem is, there's 2, 3, 4 homes that most buyers would buy within their budget, within their area at any given time. That's my experience. Some people, it's 1 or 0, right? We got to wait for those people. Some people, it's 10. They're not picky at all. But for most people, it's 2 to 4. Well, if you were saying there's only 2, 3 homes that I would purchase out of the 2,000 on the market here in Port St. Lucie, we got to hope that one of those 2, 3, 4 homes has the ability to give seller financing, wants to give seller financing, right? And it's one of your 2, 3, 4 homes that you like. What are the flipping odds of that? I can tell you, in my experience, 0. It's never happened. It's never happened. I have had people do seller financing, but when they do seller financing, they're not purchasing a property that they are in love with. It's their favorite property. They want the terms. They want the financial aspect to look good. So they're seeking out properties that have the terms of seller financing. And then they're saying, okay, can I make money on this? Great. But it's always financials based. Well, that's not a typical home buyer. A typical home buyer is not buying based on financials. They'll tell you they are, but then they'll walk in and, oh my God, I love the colors in the kitchen. We're buying this one. Yeah, but it's 20 grand over your budget. I don't care. I love it. This is the one. That's what happens. People say they want one thing, but they do another thing, right? Emotions kick in. So for the majority of people, that's not going to work. I get asked it a lot, and I kind of share this story, an abbreviated version, but it's just so rare that it'll work. In the cases it does work, it's in situations where that buyer doesn't care if they get their first, second, third property. They care that they get a property that makes financial sense and the numbers work, and seller financing makes the numbers work. So guys, there are pretty much all, if there's anything I'm missing, I'd love to hear in the comments of the thoughts that you need to have, all the pros, the cons that you need to consider when you're deciding whether or not you want to sell that home first and then go buy, or go buy first and then worry about selling. But if you've got a specific scenario you'd like me to go through, feel free to put it in the comments. You can send me a private DM over Facebook, and I'm happy to do that. You can call me. If you need my number, just let me know in the comments or a DM, and I'm happy to give it to you. If you find value in this content, I do it for you guys, right? I want you to be the most educated buyers and sellers in the real estate market. If you find value in this, please go to my YouTube channel, joerosenshow.com, and click subscribe. It helps me get this out to the masses and help educate more people. Thanks for joining me. Have a great Friday, a great weekend, and please enjoy your Halloween. Take care.